Pandora's Box by Hesiod. Has your curiosity ever got you into trouble? Have you ever been so desperate to know a secret that you took no notice of a warning? All through history, there are stories of people being told not to open doors, caskets, cupboards and gates, and all sorts of other things, and in so many of the stories, the people just did not listen. One person who did not listen was Pandora. Her story comes from ancient Greece, and her curiosity brought a whole heap of trouble. In ancient Greece, there were two brothers named Epimetheus and Prometheus. They upset the ancient Greek gods and annoyed the most powerful of all the gods, Zeus in particular. This was not the first time humans had upset Zeus, and once before, as punishment, he had taken from the humans the ability to make fire. This meant they could no longer cook their meat and could not keep themselves warm. However, Prometheus was clever, and he knew that on the Isle of Lemnos lived Hephaestus, the god who was a blacksmith. He had a fire burning to keep his forge hot. Prometheus traveled to Lemnos and stole fire from the blacksmith. Zeus was furious and decided that humans had to be punished once and for all for their lack of respect. Zeus came up with a very cunning plan to punish the two brothers. With the help of Hephaestus, he created a woman from clay. The goddess Athena then breathed life into the clay. Aphrodite made her very beautiful, and Hermes taught her how to be both charming and deceitful. Zeus called her Pandora and set her as a gift to Epimetheus. His brother Prometheus had warned him not to accept any gifts from the gods, but Epimetheus was completely charmed by the woman and thought Pandora was so beautiful that she could never cause any harm. So he agreed to marry her. Zeus, pleased that his trap was working, gave Pandora a wedding gift of a beautiful box. There was one very, very important condition, however, that she must never open the box. Pandora was very curious about the contents of the box, but she had promised that she would never open it. All she could think about was what could be in the box. She could not understand why someone would send her a box if she could not see what was in it. It seemed to make no sense at all to her, and she could think of nothing else but of opening the box and unlocking its secrets. This was just what Zeus had planned. Finally, Pandora could stand it no longer. When she knew Epimetheus was out of sight, she crept up to the box, took the key off the high shelf, fitted it carefully into the lock, and turned it. But at the last moment, she felt a pang of guilt, imagined how angry her husband would be, and quickly locked the box again without opening the lid, and put the key back where she had found it. 3 more times she did this, until at last she knew she had to look inside, or she would go completely mad. She took the key, slid it into the lock, and turned it. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and slowly lifted the lid of the box. She opened her eyes and looked into the box, expecting to see fine silks, gowns, or gold bracelets and necklaces, or even piles of gold coins. But there was no gleam of gold or treasure. There were no shining bracelets, and not one beautiful dress. The look of excitement on her face quickly turned to one of disappointment, and then horror. For Zeus had packed the box full of all the terrible evils he could think of. Out of the box poured disease and poverty. Out came misery. Out came death. Sadness, all shaped like tiny buzzing moths. The creatures stung Pandora over and over again, and she slammed the lid shut. Epimetheus ran into the room to see why she was crying in pain. Pandora could still hear a voice calling to her from the box, pleading with her to be let out. Epimetheus agreed that nothing inside the box could be worse than the horrors that had already been released. So they slowly opened the lid once more. Instead of another swarm of moths they had expected, all they saw was a little dove. The little dove flew gently over Pandora and then sat in her hand. The dove was hope. The wounds created by the evil creatures began to slowly heal. Epimetheus and Pandora stood at their balcony. The horrible moths of misery had already spread throughout the land, and a grim darkness was beginning to cover the sky. Together, Epimetheus and Pandora lifted the little dove, and she flew up into the sky, bringing hope to all. Even though Pandora had released pain and suffering upon the world, she had thus allowed hope to follow them. Pandora did all she could to help those around her, but she knew that the hope she had been able to share was the best that she could do. The end.